The lab report is basically a document that is made to show the results of the experiments that the students do by themselves in the laboratory. There are several rules for writing lab reports, but there are no hard and fast rules. There may be some changes in creating lab reports on different subjects. After reading this article, we will learn how to create a lab report on physics and what we need to keep in mind. We've attached a physics lab report that lets you get an idea. Main sections of a physics lab report. In order to write a physics lab report, we need to split the whole lab report into parts, and these parts play a big role in performing the experiment. First, we have to write down how to start the experiment. Then we have to give an idea of what steps we have to follow. Then we have to present the results obtained from the experiment, and at the end, we have to express what we have understood. The following is a list of the parts that need to be worked on to write a physics lab report. Objective, theory, list of components or equipment, diagram, steps, data table, graph, result, conclusion. A lab report is basically based on the above points, but in some cases, more can be added. But writing a simple report does not require more than that. Below is a detailed discussion of these parts so that you can understand what to write about in these parts. Objective section. This section provides an idea of what the lab report is being written for and what the experiments will prove. For example, verification of Ohm's law lab report's objective section can be: the objective of the experiment is to verify that the current and voltage are directly proportional using a 1K ohm resistor. Theory section. This section deals mainly with the main theory of the experiment. You have to write the main theory you are going to prove. In this case, maybe you have to write the exact same theory, but is not going to be considered plagiarism because you are using that exact theory as an experiment subject. At the end of this section, you have to explain what we need to analyze to prove that the theory is right. List of components section. In this section, we write the list of components used in the experiment. This section is an important section because it contains information about all machines or components we need. All kinds of physics lab experiments need some components or machines. Diagram section. This section basically contains the diagram or picture of the whole experiment. This part gives you an idea of how the experiment was done. In most cases, the diagrams are presented by the students themselves with the help of pencils. But in some cases, the diagrams may have been created using different software. It depends entirely on how the institution wants the diagrams. Steps section. This section provides an overview of the various steps involved in conducting the experiment. This section describes how a student took the test and what steps he followed. Of course, it is important to keep this part because it allows someone else to understand how the experiment was done. Data table section. If an experiment is dealing with different mathematical problems, then the data table is a very important part. Different readings of the experiment are kept in the data table and some more information is obtained from them with the help of formulas. From there, it is possible to prove a theory from an experiment. Graph section. We have to draw graphs in many experiments. Basically, different information can be presented very easily through graphs. Therefore, in all the experiments in which graphs can be used, graphs must be used. Through this, the lab report can be presented in a much better way. Results section. This section discusses what we can conclude from an experiment. A conclusion can be reached by taking data from the data table and doing various calculations with the help of mathematical formulas. This is an important part of the lab report. The calculations and the presentation should be done carefully. Conclusion section. This section presents what we have learned from the experiment. It tells us what we have learned from the results and what has been proved by the results. That is why this part should be written seriously so that we can get an idea of what we have got from the experiment.